how is a culture created? And in truth, what does culture really mean? Before you would follow a man and be involved in his culture, you should understand who that man follows and what they believe, what their affiliations are, why they have similar terminology, and why their dress or their garb has similarities. What you see when you're looking at Africa Bambaataa is a student of Dr. Malachi Z. York, whose pictures you're seeing now. Dr. Malachi Z. York is instrumental in the mind control program that many of you insist upon calling the music business. There are black Freemasons who are charged with setting up certain people and keeping certain beliefs and philosophies in circulation in the black community. Well, one of those beliefs and philosophies is that black folks are the originators of Freemasonry, and that makes it okay for you to be a part. Dr. York is one of the main spewers of that falsehood. The young pictures of Dr. York that they use for the pictures of Jesus in his own books help to show you exactly where he's coming from, not to mention the various styles of garb and different changes that they've gone through, as well as the Masonic poses. But his time in the music business is most telling, and that's what we're going to be dwelling on here. How it all connects to Africa Bambaataa, to Erykah Badu. But most importantly, this mothership deception that a lot of you are being pulled into, especially in the era of Black Lives Matters, which is going to be the agent or the catalyst used to be the serpent and the serpent and rainbow connection to take everybody in a new direction with a new type of booty that can be easily pushed upon the people who feel downtrodden and oppressed. And then you have these Masonic leaders put out front to tell you that part of the reason that you've been so oppressed is because you've been holding on to this white man's religion or this false religion. And they will point you to people like Dr. York, who will play off of your pride and slowly lead you inside of a mothership that's going to be on some other ship. Believe me. And you will understand after you watch this video the connections between Egyptian African theology, astrotheology, masonry, and witchcraft. They turn on their own. Dr. York ended up getting 135 years. He went down on 72 counts for dealing with children in ways that he should not. Okay, there's controversy. You know, some of the allegations went deeper than what he actually got charged for. Erykah Badu did the tribute for the VH1 Hip Hop Honors for Africa Bambaataa. And you can connect all of these folks, George Clinton, Africa Bambaataa, Erykah Badu, to Dr. Malachi Z. York, who was out teaching and putting out the philosophies of really a black Crowley, okay, with black supremacy tied in, heritage. You put the word heritage on black folks' hair products or anything, okay, on a can of greens, you put heritage on it. And that's supposed to appeal to the lost heritage. The fact that you have no true history or culture to identify with over here in this Babylon, and so they give you one. A bastard culture. A blend of many of the different beliefs from ancient Babylon, Sumeria, Egypt. And it turns our brothers and sisters into witches and warlocks by default, bringing them into an Egyptian magic system that they scarcely understand, teaching them things that they cannot grasp. having lived so long in this land, and things that will inadvertently turn them not just from the God of their forefathers and their ancestors, their grandmothers and their grandfathers, but to turn them all the way back to where the Psalms 2 and 2, first kings of the earth, first got deceived and went astray. And that's the way of the black boule. And there's no way that you could be as influential as a father of a culture would have to be without you having their approval. And even more so without you having a lot of their knowledge and understanding of how to get ahead in this system. And that knowledge and understanding is based in Egyptian witchcraft.
Peace and blessings. This is Africa Bambaataa of the Universal Zulu Nation in great support of the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York. We are here to talk about our brother who needs to be free from jail, that everybody needs to get the facts right, to get out there and seek the truth, the factology to what happened in this case, to bring it before the public, to bring it before the people, to get a right overstanding on the case of Dr. Malachi Z. York. My brother here, Brother King Malik from the Zulus of Atlanta, Georgia, has something to say also.
We'd like to let you know that we're definitely here to support you, and that we would like to bring it to all of the leaders, all of the representatives, and the heads of council, and everything else of all the different counties of the case, what's happening, what's going on, the information that's being suppressed, the evidence that's being suppressed, and we think that it's definitely an urgent case for everybody to be involved with.
This is definitely a case that needs to be open. It needs to be open for all the public to see, for all the public to view, for all the public to get an understanding, so we could get the right knowledge, the right wisdom, and the right understanding of what has happened to our brother, Dr. Malachi Z. York. And if this can happen to him, just imagine what can happen to you. Peace.
Let's get these facts straight. First of all, you have Kwame Kilpatrick, Mason. You have Michael Jackson's doctor, Dr. Conrad, another Mason. You have Bill Cosby, certainly, Boss Boule, another Mason. You wonder how they get busted. Same thing here, Africa Bambaataa, another Mason, getting busted. Dr. York, another Mason. Well, you know, Africa Bambaataa's thing is just at the accusation level right now. And we're going to see what's going to end up happening. Because what I believe we're seeing now is that major play, the clash between the two sides, the black and white side. The black Masons and the white Masons going head up. And even within their respective sides, there's warfare now. Because there's struggles for power. You know, they know that they're coming toward the end. Jesus Christ is coming back soon. And they also understand that, you know, there's only going to be room for so many bosses. And so underbosses are getting cut out right now. Left and right. So let's read this article here. And don't be surprised, okay, because somebody is a made man if they still go down. The double cross is strong in Masonry. The double cross is what they call it when one brother basically has to set up another, or when the brothers get together and set up one particular brother in order to move the goal of the brotherhood forward. They'll sacrifice a member. Just like they'll ask members to sacrifice their own families. They will sacrifice one another. Now let's read. And this is interesting. It could be something set up, but that does not mean that it's not true. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Ronald Savage. Interesting last name. Could it be that this is an operative or some CIA paid agent? Or someone from Africa Bambaata's past who perhaps they had planted there in order for this to come out later? But certainly Africa Bambaata was into the sex rituals and the sex magic rituals. Blood sex magic rituals, that is, just like all of the rest of it. How could he not have been? But let's look at it. And a student of one of the highest black masons in this New Babylon, Dr. York. And we know Dr. York was nothing but Crowley urban style. Now let's see. That's a screenshot of Ronald Savage. Ronald Savage says he was only 15 years old when the founder of hip hop, and we know that's not accurate, but this is, of course, how the media is going to kind of summarize everything. They don't want to hear all about whip or Cedric Ave movement. They ain't trying to get their hip hop head research on. They want to know the basics. But a person would say the blanket title that they would throw over Africa Bambaata would be a father or forefather of hip hop. Okay. All right. But anyway, Ronald Savage says he was only 15 years old when the founder of hip hop, Africa Bambaata, first sexually assaulted him. In an interview with the New York Daily News, Savage, a now 50-year-old New York political activist, tearfully recalled the incidents he alleged and spoke publicly about how he wants to change the statute of limitation laws to help survivors of sexual assault get justice. Didn't edit this very well. I want him to know how much he damaged me growing up, said Savage. I was just a child. Why did he take my innocence away? Why did he do this to me? Savage told the paper that he didn't go to the police at the time because he was embarrassed and ashamed. Certainly. He said there were at least 5 incidents during which he said he felt hypnotized as they occurred. Did you hear me? Savage said that there were at least 5 incidents. Now, this is a young boy who was around a wizard. Like George Clinton was a wizard. You remember what John Todd said he was told by one of the members of Crosby, Stills, and Nash? It was Crosby. He said he had bumped into him somewhere, and he told John Todd. John Todd asked him, how's everything in the music business now? Supposedly after he left. And supposedly Crosby says to him, oh, well, it's pretty much the same, except, now we all have to be officially witches in order to produce music. You have to understand the spell to be a good producer and to produce a record well. So they wanted people to really embrace hypnotic techniques and different things of that nature. That's sometimes how they can get folks lured into that. They tell you these are things you can do to help your sales. These are things you can do to help your audience get more engaged and more into you. These are things you can do to hook the masses. Savage told the paper that he didn't go to police at the time because he was embarrassed and ashamed. He said there were at least 5 incidents during which he said he felt hypnotized as they occurred. At the time, Bambaataa was 23 years old and Savage was part of Bambaata's Zulu Nation. Vivian Kimi Tozaki, Bambaata's attorney, denied the allegations. Soon. Defamatory statements were published seeking to harm my client's reputation so as to lower him in the estimation of the community while deterring others from associating with or dealing with him. She told the Daily News, referring to Savage's self-published book, Impulse, Urges, and Fantasies. Sounds like a story of a mind-controlled victim. A young black man this time connected to hip-hop, as opposed to the many stories we've heard of young white women connected to rock and roll. The statements show a reckless disregard for the truth. Yeah, that's right. hip-hop groupies were in the beginning and are, by and large, young black men who want to be like the rappers, who follow the rappers, and who imitate the rappers to the fullest. The ladies that you see there, they would be around the dope man. They would be around, a convention of doctors. Okay, they chasing the dollar, sack chasers, but they're chasing the sack. But these particular groupies that you find in hip hop, and Ice Cube spoke on them on "Get Off My" and Tell You to Come Here. Okay, on his I think that was on the Jack of the Beats. Either that or it was on America's Most. I forget. But anyway, this is a well-known thing. Okay, you go to a rap concert. A lot of times, a lot of ladies won't go, depending on who it is. Okay, but it's the fellas gonna show. So hip hop was a music that had a spell that was aimed at and geared toward young black men. Okay, so Savage has self-published a book called Impulse, Urges, and Fantasies, we're told. The statements show a reckless disregard for the truth, were published without knowledge of their falsity, and are being made by a lesser-known person seeking publicity. Savage told the newspaper his life goal is to now change the statute of limitations regarding sexual assault allegations, and he said he hopes that by finally speaking out, he'll give others the courage to do so as well. I promised myself before I die I'm going to let the world know what happened to me, he told the news. They need to get rid of the statute of limitations. How can anyone who has not been a victim say when somebody is ready to speak about this? So the video contains graphic detail of the alleged sexual assault that Savage says he suffered. Now, let's see. Likely won't even play. But we will perhaps take a look at the video, but let's make a few more connections.
When I'm having sex, it's like you can't initiate touch me. I have to know that you're gonna touch me, and when you go to touch me, it's like I had to brace myself. This is during a sexual encounter. I would have to brace myself just for you to touch me. My name is Ronald Savage. When I was younger, I was molested by Africa Bambaataa. Africa Bambaataa is the founding father of hip-hop. He's the co-founder of the Universal Zulu Nation. He's done tons of records like Planet Rock, Looking for the Perfect Beat. I met them when I was around 14. When I was in the 9th grade, I was cut in one day, and I had called Africa Bambaataa, and because I didn't have nowhere to go, so I went up to his house. He paid the cab, and I was in the living room. Another gentleman was there, and it looked like they was DJing, and Bam told me that I could go into his bedroom because the TV was on. So I went to the bedroom, and I was in there, and I say I was in the bedroom no more than 3-4 minutes, and Bam took out his penis, and he started jerking it, and he told me that for me to take mine out, and at that time I didn't really understand what jerking was, so he was telling me, oh, that everybody does it. He unzipped my pants, and he took it out, and he started jerking it, and then he put my hand on it, and then started making me jerk it. Then he left the room, and the guy that was in the living room, he came into the room, and when he came into the room, his thing was already out, and I got up off the bed, and I left. Another time, Bam came to my house. The thing that really stayed in my mind and really freaked me out is I had to lay on the bed and I had to cross my legs. And he would put his penis in between my legs and then pump up and down. And I remember at the time I had this big guy like on me, and from that time I bugged out. I'm not gonna lie, like it confused me, like, cause I had never had sex before in my life. No one's never touched me like that, and to be touched, my first time being touched was by a man. During the course of growing up, I told like my close friends what happened to me because at that time I didn't know who to trust. I didn't feel safe because they all used to come to my house, like the Zulu Nation Council and BAM. So I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know if I told was something gonna happen to me, was something gonna happen to my sister, to my mother, So I just held it in. I used to keep it bottled up. And during the course with my girlfriends and stuff like that, their thing was that I didn't know how to show affection. So I used to blame myself for that because I didn't know how to show affection. And when I'm having sex, it would stay hard and then go back down because while I'm having sex, I would think about Bambaataa, and then it would go down. And, that's the things that the girlfriends didn't like. And I blame myself for that. And I tried to commit suicide about that because I was always wishing that didn't happen to me. And I always was wondering if that didn't happen to me, like, would I be able to perform the right way? For the time after that, I found myself just not trusting people, especially when I got in cars, like with my other guy friends. It was on my mind was, are they going to do this too? And I swear to God, that still stays with me now. I'm not looking for any compensation from Africa Bambaataa. That's not what this is about. I never asked them for money. I never was seeking money from them. The only thing I wanted was for this man to answer my question, why me? That's my justice for myself, because I just wanted to know why me. My reasons for coming forth is I feel that something needs to happen, because if it took me this long to come out and people are now telling me, oh, it's nothing that can be done because of the statute of limitations. I feel that the statute of limitations should be longer, or if not, done away with. It took me till I'm 50 to be comfortable to talk about it, to let it out. So I feel that how can people put limitations on something you've never been through? You haven't experienced the pain, the suffering that I went through since a young teen up until now. And then for it to be told that I have up until 21 or 23 to report it, that's totally unfair. Because at that age, I had just told my parents. I wasn't ready to tell the world. Every day of my life, I think about what happened to me. And it bothers me because I was always afraid to get it out, afraid to talk about it, because I never wanted to be judged. I always wanted to be like everyone else. So that's probably maybe one of the reasons why I didn't say nothing to no one, other than being afraid and what will happen to me if I do tell, because this is a very powerful man. He has, I believe it's 1.5 million members worldwide. Where am I run to?
so enthused about Planet Rock, looking for the perfect beat, renegades, that you totally overlooked the fact that After Bambaataa played his role in setting up the alien deception among the people that might be least likely to buy it. And he did it through a very stylized manner. So let's look at that. Now this is from the 2014 movie I put up called Blackness. Some of you had a chance to see it before it was snatched down. And in that video, we broke some things down. We're just going to look exactly at how they were broke down and maybe add a little taste to it as needed. So here we just showed how E.T. was a foreshadowing of the alien deception to come, a way to endear the concept of aliens to people who would normally and naturally be suspicious of such by making them seem like good guys in the media, something we saw in recent years with the movie Paul, but most notably with the iconic 80s film E.T. by Steven Spielberg, Zionist and government operative in Hollywood. So we talked about how they, the demons, disguising themselves as aliens, will be revealed in this age, the new age, as our gods, quote unquote. They will use history, they will use records, they will use artifacts, and they will use scholars to back it up. Mark my word. And then they'll throw in the trump card, and of course they will bring in the Pope and other religious leaders in order to also co-sign with this. And this is the same trick, the "you are God's" trick, being played in a very slick and stylized way for the new age, for this Aquarian age generation, for the new information age young people. It's the same trick that was used in the garden before Project Bluebeam was even thought of. And that trick is to get you to identify with demons by making you think those demons are aliens. And not just aliens, but your alien ancestors who set up the great civilizations in Babylon, Sumer, Kemet. And the imagery that we have seen from E.T. was aimed at the masses, aimed at pop culture, trying to get the average bear square to buy that idea, low key, that the aliens are gods. That's why you have the iconic picture from the movie of E.T.'s finger touching Elliot's finger, the little boy. E.T., Elliot, E.T. Okay, showing that they were one and the same. There's even a scene where the little boy gets possessed by E.T. But Michelangelo's famous painting on the Sistine Chapel also shows man touching with God. Now, let's look at this part. But of course, this man touching with God is not supposed to be a metaphor or an analogy for man coming closer to God, which would be all good. It is a metaphor for man becoming one, hence the one finger with God. In other words, from their perspective, and again, don't shade it the way you believe it. We're looking at what they believe, the powers that be, especially on this high-powered day of theirs, 418, where they believe that we are in the last throes of Aries, the alpha male approach of Lucifer, number one, going into number two, the second, quote-unquote, zodiac sign, according to these astrotheologists, which is Taurus. And they believe that both of these signs are explosive signs. Interesting. Both horned signs. Both representations of Lucifer, like all of the signs are, but these are the breakthrough signs, if you will. Number one and number two. The first male and the first female, according to their theological beliefs. Now, just like we said is going to happen more in mass and more in media, it's happening now behind closed doors. It's been happening. You're going to see how all of the different religious leaders are actually tied into one brotherhood under Lucifer, whether they are black, white, or Chinaman. The popes, priests, shaman of this world keep the tradition of keeping contact. The movie Contact. And often they keep a secret or sacred, same word, tradition of exchanging things with these quote-unquote gods, exchanging things with the demons, and covertly allowing and bringing sacrifices to those gods. It's like in ancient times, giving sacrifices to these demon spirits in order to appease their wrath and keep them from attacking the tribe. Now, this goes back. Perhaps some of you have heard of Credo Mutwa. Credo Mutwa is supposed to have been the Zulu shaman for the 20th century, the latter-day shaman who had begun to drum up somewhat of a presence on the internet because of his exposure to the masses by David Icke. He was the most dubious character, to say the least. Certainly involved in psyops, certainly a double agent, but also certainly a disinformationist supreme, where he is given certain true things to say. So he is allowed to speak on the manifestation of this reptilian or serpentine demon. One demon of many. And a demon, like when Worley said, that was more known to attach itself to certain tribes. You know this. Think about the Orishas, the Jinn. Based on your certain practices, you are more likely to encourage or attract certain demons. Based on your ethnicity, based on your background, the sins of the father, going back to the 4th and 5th, 6th. There was also a movie made, very popular in the 70s, that also helped for a particular ethnicity and culture, quote unquote, to get drawn into Afrocentricity. That movie was Shaka Zulu. Shaka Zulu depicted a very mighty Zulu tribe, a tribe of warriors with intense strength and intense tenacity in battle, which would be all good. Except we have to understand that the power of this nation, the Zulu nation, the real Zulus of South Africa, the power of that nation comes from the same source of power that all the other nations of this wicked world use. That same source of power. Magic and witchcraft, which is Lucifer. No matter how sweet it looks, no matter what tradition it comes out of, no matter what ethnicity wants to claim it, magic by any other name is still the same. Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. Renegades of this time and age, okay, renegades of the atomic age, to appease their wrath and keep them from attacking the tribe. They act as ambassadors between the tribes. This is what the shamans and the kings would do as the middlemen who work with these spirits, beings, demons, aliens, whatever you want to call them to make yourself comfortable. But the bottom line is the shamans and the priests and the royalty would all make deals with these entities. And of course, the booty for the deals would be the people. And so, for thousands of years, you've had kings and shamans, high priests and wise men and royalty, all collaborating together, conspiring together with the spirits that give them power to keep the people under mind control, or to keep the people under some form of control. This is the tradition of royalty, no matter where it's from, because royalty was taught to mankind by the fallen angels. Let's not be dumb. Just because you like it, because it looks like you, that does not mean that it's not out to do you harm. You have to get past that. Does it sound good, look good, taste good? The devil knows what you like. He's going to give it to you in the form that you can digest most easy. A lot of brothers didn't get into the alien thing until Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation and their imagery and Planet Rock, which was of course borrowed from George Clinton, the Parliament Funkadelic, and we'll look more at that. Okay. Now, they, the priests and shamans, act as ambassadors between the tribe and the demon spirits that oppress them. The modern day shamans and wizards are also griots to a degree, the storytellers and the keepers of tradition. And they use fallen angel given technology in order to manipulate vibration, frequency, harmony, and magnetics into a hypnotic force that compels individuals to explode with energy and to react in a variety of ways, including anger and rage. And let's not forget confusion. God is not the author of confusion. Let's look some more. That was Credo. This is the cover for Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force. Now, we've talked about how superheroes are really nothing but representations of what? And this album cover is a direct rip-off of a Marvel Comics or DC Comics stuff, also like Marvel, showing and proving that someone behind the scenes is making these connections, even if you just thought it looked sweet. Hello? I mean, you can choose not to think. You can choose not to see certain things. You can choose to sweep it under the rug. You can choose to only see it in a perspective that makes you comfortable. That's your choice, free will. But you should choose the truth. It'll make you free. Let's look some more. So we say, like these other high priests that we've been talking about, such a modern day high priest is Africa Bambaataa. No coincidence that he names his nation the Zulu Nation after this tribe of warriors. Now again, this was a gang called the Black Spades in the Bronx, who became the Zulu Nation. Now yes, black awareness and social consciousness was a big deal in the late 70s, mid to late 70s especially. But not so much so that you would organically see all of the black street gangs begin to take this turn into being both more politically aware and appearing to have more awareness of occult symbolism. Who did this? How do these young brothers and sisters from the streets who just wanted to get together, a lot of times and form community organizations, and then in other times to get together in order to police those who are policing them? How do those organizations turn into gangs and then turn into dope gangs and then turn into what appears to be a social-political organization? Is the Zulu Nation of Africa Bambaataa a 501c3? Let's continue. So such a modern-day high priest is Africa Bambaataa, also a student, follower, and avid supporter of Black Crowley. You did see him throwing up the Manu Coronado, which is called the Devil's Horns by laymen. Okay, but definitely, Bambaataa was an avid supporter and follower of Black Crowley, aka CIA operative and Masonic Grand Wizard of high titles, Dr. Malachi Z. York. Undoubtedly, he is a member of the Ancient Order of Melchizedek, a secret fraternity within Nuwaupu. Now we're talking about Africa Bambaataa. Certainly he would be up in those ranks. I know people that didn't have anything who had joined the Ancient Order of Melchizedek. Okay? And that order was nothing but a recruiting ground for the Temple of Set. Again, see, these Egyptian things, they make you think Egyptian is all good. They even say, you know, hey, there was Egyptian and then it was Commission. Commission was us and it was all good. They're playing off your pride. It's no job in your baby. Better look into it. Some is all good. How can it get turned bad? Hello? Oh, let's continue. So, Nuwaupu, the Ancient Order of Melchizedek, is nothing but a recruiting ground for the Temple of Set, which was headed up by Michael Aquino, who had been busted, accused, and, you know, many believe, of messing with young boys. Same thing that just happened to Dr. York. Dr. York is under the Temple of Set. Admittedly, he is a member of the Temple of Set. Dr. York and his order, the ancient order of Melchizedek, did a ceremony in Washington, D.C., in which they bragged about the power that they were able to call down because lightning was striking the monuments and whatnot. They were charging up those things. They were invited there to Washington, D.C. to do the ceremony because behind closed doors at that time, York was seen as a witch with skilled warlock among their order, and a very skilled and important disinformationalist, because much like Africa Bambaataa, his disguise of being so pro-black and for us, listen to Africa Bambaataa's, listen to his retorts. It sounds so fake and rehearsed. Peace and blessings to all the universal people of the world. It sounds like really something he was brainwashed into believing when he was young. And I believe that's what happened. Let's get to that part too. Believe that Africa Bambaataa was a gang member, like many, during that time, who was approached with an offer that they should have refused. And I believe that Bambaataa knew that he would be used. And also that Bambaataa was taught. Just like you see Vice Lords, folks, GDs, you wonder who taught them. Did they actually crack open books of occult symbolism on their own, uninspired by anyone? Where do these ideas come from? These high and lofty-minded ideas that really are exclusive to the secret societies of the world. How do they trickle their way into some kids from the Bronx? Because the powers that be know something about law lines and ley lines. The law, the book of the law, as in Crowley. But they understand something about certain places. They know about the desolations of many generations and how those places will be the fertile ground from which the fruit of the new prophets and ministers and mighty men of valor, they're going to rise up from out of the desolations of many generations. Hoover even spoke of that in the COINTELPRO papers about his fear of a black Messiah. Okay? Now, so you have the Temple of Set, Michael Aquino, military brass. You have up under that, you have Dr. York, the Wapian Nation, the entertainment luminaries were at one time under Dr. York, from the R&B ones to the funk ones to the hip hop ones. Let's say that. One time I knew Busta Rhymes, Erykah Badu, Dre 3000, a lot of your influence, CeeLo, and look how he started to dress. Okay? Similar to what you saw with Bambaataa. Okay? So again, these secret fraternities are places and recruiting grounds for other Luciferian orders where they traumatize young men on the norm. Aleister Crowley said in a British paper, and of course, because of his image of being such a psycho and a loon, we're told it was never explored and no one took it seriously. But Crowley said one year he buggered, according to his language, meaning had sex with and then murdered over 150 young boys. He was into really trying to draw forth what he believed was the strongest demonic powers by doing the most abominable acts. And this is passed down. This is taught throughout the brotherhood. The molestation of children is most abominable to the Messiah out of his own words, out of his own mouth. So when they're doing this, they're not only disrespecting God's creation on its most innocent and pure level, but they're also disrespecting the direct commands of the Messiah. To suffer not the children, and to be like them. So, when Dr. York's charges first came up, it was 72 counts of everything. The one that stuck most, but was believed least, was that all he did was take kids across the state line to take them to Epcot Center, which he told us in the year 2001 what to expect was a mind control center. And he admitted to taking the children there. So that's his nail in the coffin. Why would you take the children somewhere you told us in one of your most famous scrolls was a mind control center if you're not mind controlling the children like your student, Africa Bambaataa? But let's continue. Let's look a little bit more at this thing. Manu Coronado, wore the devil's horn sign, found its way into rock, funk, football, Texas Longhorns, and even street gangs. The Black Spades was a notorious New York gang headed by Bambaataa in the mid-70s. Reference Just Ice's going way back, where he says going way back to the early days of 75 and the Black Spades. That's the first brother I ever seen with a grill. But I mean, you know, we learned so many things about this during our youth, and just like anything else that mind controllers and brainwashers and programmers want to stick to you, is best taught to you in your youth. The nostalgia of it, the memories, helps to keep it in a romantic place in your mind. You romanticize about it, you fantasize about it. Some of you, even are delusional about it, confused about it. You spend so much time trying to rap and trying to rhyme and trying to make music that you have forsaken all other things, including forsaken your right and your ability to check things out for yourself, to research where signs and symbols come from, to find out about the roots of witchcraft, to find out why is it really called black magic. Okay, it's beyond the fact that they try to make you think that there's a good magic and a bad magic, and the bad magic is black, but it's deeper than that. It's that they realize, all secret societies realize, that the first and most potent form of sorcery was given to the kings of the earth, Psalms 2 and 2, who were the first civilizations, Babylon, Sumer, Kemet, Egypt. And those first kings of the earth were given witchcraft by the fallen angels. So now, let's look into this thing. So now this is the foundation. Okay, folks say, Grandmaster Kaz, or, you have a lot of originators and pioneers and different people, Cold Crush brothers, that would be called pioneers by those who, quote unquote, are heads, hip hop heads, crack heads, weed heads, hip hop heads. But hip hop heads in general won't just flat out say Africa Bambaataa is the father of hip hop. We know there were a lot of people involved. And per the devil's usual way, he puts his flunkies, his peons, out on Front Street. The people that you see, the faces that you see, the politicians, they're his peons out on Front Street doing his bidding. Well, I maintain that the same was done in this game called hip hop. The adversary had agents, ministers, if you will, who had been taught the Luciferian way, African style. They didn't even know it was Luciferian, but they were taught that way, shown the magic mantras, the magic mantras and mudras that would become the hooks and the hand gestures of iconic golden era and foundational hip hop. Africa Bambaataa is behind foundational hip hop. It is no sense in arguing that the most influential, powerful, and the deepest crew in hip hop worldwide is the Zulu Nation. The Zulu Nation was swallowing up all kinds of crews. The native tongues, swallowed up by the Zulu Nation. Swallowed up by the Zulu Nation. In other words, the Zulu Nation became that crew that had the juice and the official okay, the connection, the power, the name, and the fame to be the flagship crew for the culture. Can we say that? So when folks is talking about hip hop culture, they can invite out Africa Bambaataa and Benny Nation. They can play it off like, they're 501c3, some kind of community organization or something. And Bambaataa can get paid of something he was, proud of because he was originally a black spade, a gang member who was taught this way. And this way is then turned into a cult. Sure. That we call the hip hop culture. 4 elements, all involved. Let's break them down real fast. We're going to go more into this in the new songwriter secret. We're going to really get down into classic era hip hop and the funk. The real funk, baby. But you have graffiti, which is about demons watching, the demonic possessed young men who, just wanted their feelings expressed. You understand? We know the stories that were written by the liberals who were writing about hip hop first. I remember because my auntie, who would, she was up on pop culture. As hip hop crept into pop culture, and she saw I liked it, she started buying me the books. The book called The Talking Drum, all these books relating hip hop back to its African origins, but not relating its African origins back to its pagan origins. Not dealing with the fact that, hey, everything in Africa ain't holy, baby. Like everything over here in America ain't holy, baby, but you got some people in some places who have believed the hype. They believe the good spin. They believe what is advertised about America, what's promoted. Same thing about Africa for y'all brothers and sisters. Look at Coming to America. Although it was supposed to be a parody, and I'm sure that Eddie Murphy knew that he was going over the top with certain things. That's what parody does. He came from Saturday Night Live, big on parody. But at the same time, you saw too this vast difference between what folks think of Africa and what Africa really is. And if you look at how him and Arsenio was dressed throughout the early parts of the movie, where they were still in their royal garb, especially, it looked a bit Masonic to me. So the more you begin to look at these kings of culture, and the more knowledgeable you are of certain signs and symbols, you need to know what was said about the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Messians, Babylonians, outside of those who loved them, outside of Egyptophiles. Okay? Like you need to hear things said about hip hop outside, from just those who love it. Elder C. Lewis, I always call his name wrong, but the elder obviously wasn't well versed on the finer points of the culture, and so therefore he could go harder in a certain direction. Well, guess what? Our God is a God of perfection. He's gonna make sure that there's balance in order to bring correction. So now the balance is this. I was knee deep in the midst. Let's continue. So there may be some things that I catch that was missed. Graffiti, demons watching, young men paint the paintings, the big-eyed paintings on the buildings that are eyesores to some and works of art to others. You would never get 100% agreement that it's a work of art because that's somebody's building who did not get a choice of what color they wanted that building, or perhaps they painted that building a particular color and did not want it to be none other. And then someone comes along and puts their idea on it, although they don't own it. How you like it? I come to your house and paint it like I want to paint it. So there's a rebellion spirit in that. Rebellion is as the spirit of witchcraft. So where you find a rebellion spirit, you will find witchcraft lurking, hiding in the midst. So graffiti, I know you heard Brother Ramirez, I believe, from the Bronx, I believe. His testimony, he broke down the graffiti. Brother from the Bronx. Okay, he came out of witchcraft. He understood what the unknowing and unwilling vessels for demons did not. You're just a vessel. You're a young buck. You ain't learned shit. Baby Bear Square. Baby boy. Breakdancing, the trance spell of breakdancing. You see them do the Egyptian motion with their arms and hands. Okay, the hieroglyph motion like you see in Walk Like an Egyptian. You remember Mesopotamia. 42 years old. I know this music. Okay, I had records. I had Boogie Down Bronx. Man, Parrish and Cool Raoul. Cooler than the water in the swimming pool. Dating myself, but I'm showing you I'm authentic. So of course the trance spell. You see the same thing in voodoo, where you see you have seen depictions of the practices of the believers in voodoo worshiping themselves into a frenzy through the dance. The movements are aggressive, bold, prideful, and sexual. Let's continue. DJing, promoting the spell. DJing, well, what is he playing? What are you playing? What do you play? What do you promote? What's popular, man? Case closed. Promoting the spell. Repeating the spell, making sure the spell sticks. Play the spell 2 and 3 times throughout the party. Play the one spell, put on beats to the rhyme. F the police. Make everyone fight. So promoting of the spell and the distributing of the spell, too, the distributing of the spell also through the DJ. DJ's slang mixtape. Let's continue. The mix CDs. Rapping, the spell of spelling, chanting, incantations, Rain Man personified, coming down over you, giving you the words, you don't even know where they came from. Freestyling in and of itself. Now again, there's always 2 ways to look at things. We have 720 degrees. 360 degrees of positive, 360 degrees of negative, according to metaphysicians. Okay, so they try to say, although they do not, they try to say that they want to look at the entire thing as the devil intended and the entire thing as God intended. Because ultimately God is in control. And to the pure, all things are pure. And there were a lot of pure and innocent young brothers, hence like the ones that are coming out now, who were just following their big brothers, following their uncles, following the OGs in the hood. Okay? And they had no idea where they were following them. It was not a path that was good. They took them down a left-hand path with funky beats, fresh maneuvers, new ways to rock your clothes. Now the 5th element, which was a club here in Detroit, hip-hop club. 5th would be the spirit. Now ask yourself, what spirit is it under? Now did God balance it out? Is it true what the devil meant for bad, the Lord turns around for your good? Is music itself demonic? Of course not. Scriptures and Psalms prove that it's not. The devil cannot create, but he can imitate. Hip-hop is an imitation of something that we have scarcely seen the true manifestation of yet, because God's children have not taken over the set. Because again, a form of music is but a form of music. To do poetry to rhythm in and of itself cannot be sinful. It's about what the poetry is about, the spirit that's behind it, the 5th element. Now, in hip-hop's beginning, we had Latins and blacks, primarily in control, especially in the Bronx. Okay? Now, like us, let's look at something else. You had a lot of ethnicities and nationalities involved, okay? Nationalities from certain histories and backgrounds, ironically, and nationalities with certain ties to certain spirits more so than others. For instance, among the brothers and sisters of the Cuban persuasion, sometimes it has been my experience in having family there. Okay? Brother from another mother and grandmother as well. Cubans often think they are only being proud of their heritage by continuing to practice Santeria or, other ancient pagan traditions alongside Christianity. So it is a good idea. It is a very good idea and a wise thing for those who are inclined to look up the origins of things to really study the Masonry. And really just for any awake brother or sister that's aware, you need to study the Masonry and you need to study the symbolism. At least do a basic study. At least have a basic working knowledge. Because a lot of things that you've seen paraded in front of you as hip-hop, b-boy stance, for instance, the titles, these Grandmaster, these titles show the Masonic links and origins of hip-hop from the very beginning. It was the Masons that grabbed the gangs and pulled them in and taught them the things of the brotherhood. Now let's look some more here. They later formed the foundation. The Zulu Nation later formed the foundation. The Black Spades later formed the foundation that would become the Zulu Nation. Notice the hand sign. Gang leaders with great ambition and criminal leadership potential were invited, oftentimes upon arrest, upon their notoriety, getting notorious in the hood. Then the detectives would want to holler at that guy. He's the influential man. Okay, and the detective is the man with the Masonic Brotherhood shape and the hand. And so oftentimes what you would find is that they would zero in on the leader of a movement. They did so with Huey Newton. They considered gangs movements at the time because they didn't understand exactly where they were going to end up. So they wanted to give them a destination. Hip-hop became a huge part of that. Now, again, gang leaders with great ambition and criminal leadership potential were invited upon arrest to learn from the occult power and knowledge of the brotherhood, so-called occult. Continue. Only a degree of knowledge, which is actually only information, if you only have a degree of knowledge. Holding up the one, like Malcolm X does in the iconic photo where he holds up the one upside his face, is showing you the first degree. Okay. Same thing Bambaataa is doing in this picture that's blending or fading into the next picture coming up. So with only a degree of knowledge, which is actually only information, on the first degree, they only give you basic information. It is as you climb up in degrees that you begin to realize that you've gotten yourself into something satanic. You don't know in the beginning, otherwise you wouldn't go in the beginning. You wouldn't keep going up the steps. Okay, but the gang leader is let back out on the streets with this new information, oftentimes with the bag of work on him as well. Bobby Seale reported that he told Huey that the party was over when Huey suggested, after being freed and recruited, that they use drugs to fund the revolution. This tactic is even reflected in the watered-down plot of Van Peebles' Panther movie. The best proof is spelled out in the COINTELPRO papers, where tactics such as this are all but spelled out in black and white. The Gangster Disciples, for instance, have made their Masonic connection clear in a famous YouTube video dissing Rick Ross for falsely claiming membership. They appear to be inside of a lodge and are all rocking their Masonic jeans. The folk in other Midwest gangs feature hexagrams, pitchforks, and pentagrams in their graffiti. Proof positive. The gang Masonic connection. Let's continue. Forward direction. Check out this symbol. According to Zechariah Sitchin's series on 12th Planet, this symbol looks like the ancient Sumerian symbol for the black-headed one. The Sumerian priests like Dr. York taught their followers to worship the Anunnaki as their gods. The Anunnaki is another reptile or serpent race, coincidence or coincidence. So the Zulus, like most tribes, did not just make pictures of themselves and revere those. They made pictures of what they considered to be their gods, and that was their symbolism. That's what you find often. Okay? That's why you look at those African statues and say, well, that don't look like no brother I ever seen. Not just a stylized human, ladies and gentlemen. This is also where the blackface imagery comes from, and also on Peach Fuzz. I think they were native tongue. I know they were down with Dr. York because at the end of the song Peach Fuzz, he said something like, you don't eat no pork because I'm trying to be smooth as my man Dr. York. Dr. York, all in and throughout classic hip hop, from its foundation or from its strongest position, being Zulu Nation, after Bambaataa. Ice Cube and Brother Jay had a beef at one time. That would have been a good battle. X-Clan dropped a couple lines on him. He dropped a couple lines back. And then the Zulu Nation was brought in to squash that. Same thing happened with Cube and KRS-One, I believe. And with, I think it was KRS-One and PM Dawn as well. So Zulu Nation has also played this political role in hip-hop. Okay, let's continue. Which, of course, like the Masons, it's supposed to look like it's all good. It's promoting peace and unity in the community, when in reality it's about monopoly. Let's continue. It ain't slow. You can get it if you want to. Here's more depictions of the gods of man, the demons of man. Here's a Sumerian and Babylonian era god and their royal host. Remember, it was the royals, just like per the story of Morneau, a trip into the supernatural. The royals, the highfalutin people, just like in the movie The Game or in The Believers, they are the ones who are brought into this practice, into this game, this religion, if you will. And they are shown that in order to get to the top of the hill, they need the help of these extra dimensional beings. And that has been passed down not just through politics, ladies and gentlemen, but through entertainment. That's why the entertainers are into the conjuring that they're into. Let's continue. This is from the Enuma Elish, Gilgamesh. Here you see the Mother Goddess representation. Wings here, tribute being brought to her by the kings of the earth. Still goes on today. Lucifer can disguise himself either way. Goes both ways. Mother Goddess, or as some other pagan god. It needs many disguises. They can hide and do his work without your interference. You see? You don't even recognize that it's him. You think it's a myth. Ancient Babylonian Sumerian depiction of the original Mother Goddess, the whore of Babylon, called Inanna, Isis, Semiramis, and Ishtar or Ashtar, among others, receiving tribute. Here, of course, you hear about the bull god, the worship of the bull god, or the horn god, stag god. You see it as Aries, you see it as Taurus. Kid Rock has a song on one of the Maddens called I Am the Bull God. What is it about? The horns are symbolic of being rebellious, warlike, and stubborn. Also double-mindedness. The two horns representing the two pillars or the two sides of man, the dark side and the light side, which is a Masonic belief. You find them on the bull god depiction. Okay? It's about being rebellious, warlike, and stubborn. Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. You find them on the Baphomet, these same horns. You find them on depictions of the devil. But they are also seen on the reptilian archives at the highest ranks, and depicted on representations of the serpent, as gargoyles, and other malevolent monsters of supernature and myth. Therefore, devils are drawn with horns on their head. Been drawn that way. Okay, let's look at some more. Okay. The horns on his head and the horns on his hand. always giving tribute again to these rebellious gods of civilization. Of course, the idea is not original. The Bambaataa in his style of dress, reminiscent of Son Ra and George Clinton. Exclaim, what did they all believe? What did they have in common? Was it simply pride in their quote-unquote heritage? Afrika Bambaataa is credited as a hip-hop pioneer, the leading figure and head representative, even above KRS-One in terms of reverence. And he is called its God Father. True to their nature, the Fallen created a hybrid using music and technology. It would be received begrudgingly and accepted slowly over years and years of wearing away our natural frequency and harmony with each other, the world we inhabit, and the creatures we shared with. Both aspects of the spirit realm and the supernatural world were at work, however. In other words, the devil has a purpose and God has a plan. Okay? God always is working, even when all you think you're seeing is the devil at work. He knew that that music would call his very special young one. He isolated us, insulated us, and made sure that despite the devil's best efforts, all of us could not be brainwashed and overcome, overtaken, enchanted by this new musical form of magic that has been taken over by the powers that should not be. If we want to talk real about it, we're no longer in control of this quote-unquote culture. Who controls the cult now? Continue. See the machines of hip-hop changing the sound of music. Prince, I remember in the Jet magazine, was complaining about rap when it first was busting through the scene and his record sales were suffering. He ended up having to get him a rapper too for the new power generation, but at first, he was talking about how it's not really music. There's no melody. There's no harmony. So how can it be music? But you had scientists behind it, baby. Not just secret societists, but scientists like Kurzweil, sound wizards and scientists, Roland, Korg. You saw certain numbers and letters, i.e. the 808, the 909, forward and backward, the SP12, and certain last names from certain families and tribes became synonymous with this electronic music form. They would be essential in shaping a sort of non-musical music, stripped from the nutrients and benefits that it feeds the soul when it's in an uncorrupted state. And it became the most powerful non-music music in the world. I mean, we're just being for real here, saying some things people don't like to say. Look at this. Then, of course, there was Kraftwerk. The German technology and occult mind control symbolism found in their imagery, work, and lyrics tells all. Not to mention their name, Witchcraft Working. They were a factory, all right. Their overly synchronized and syncopated sound would be the basis for many early breakdance hits, and it contained the blueprint to the way sampling would be done for years after Numbers and Tour de France. Surprisingly, both those songs and other Kraftwerk hits crossed over into R&B station playlists and New York nightclubs, a hotbed for mind control and behavior modification experiments, where young, often detached, drugged up, and uninhibited potential test subjects can dance and drink themselves into a trance, and then can be easily taken advantage of, and have the whole experience wiped from their memories. Blacked out. I don't know what happened last night at the club. Kraftwerk's members were involved in experiments and studies at a European university, and they had the technical knowledge of electronics and harmonics It enabled them to build and refine their own instruments. Did you know that? Heard of the British pop invasion? Consider the German hip-hop invasion and the Nazi contributions to MK Ultra and human behavior modification and experimentation, and maybe you'll get some revelation as to what that was really about for the hip-hop nation. The infiltration of these German sound wizards created the basis for Planet Rock, perfect beat. They have that album cover, I believe, with the 666. That police, Stinging the Police. Everything about Stinging the Police. If you look at their album covers, and know your imagery, songs, you'll see the red and black there, man and machine, transhumanism, personified was Kraftwerk and hip hop, as Kraftwerk would be one of the founders of the sound that would become hip hop, the syncopated sound. You see the Men at Work cone, showing you they were constructing something. When I was coming up, the numbers beat fascinated me, as did the scary, wispy, and demonic voice that starts the song off. No door is closed. I know. 1, 2, 3, 4 in Spanish. But again, the scary voice at times is speaking German, incidentally, and it sounds most demonic and frightening, which is a nod to the sinister intent behind this crossover group. The cone suggests construction workers or builders, masons, but building or constructing what? Just a beat? A new sound? Many layers of meaning can be found in one cleverly placed occult symbol. All of the above is true, as well as also it symbolizes the creation of a new you, too. Transhumanism. Trans, Euro, Express, and of course the movements and motions that these new instruments and sounds would bring about would cause a new style of quote-unquote dancing to come out, where you can't dance with someone and show intimacy and love, but the competition, the spirit of fighting, the fighting spirit is strong in this dance, related to capoeira, a fighting art, one of the martial arts, martial meaning to kill. Karate was a spirit called out by Win Worley in his Master Nuggets video, famous on YouTube. Type in Win, W-I-N, Worley, W-O-R-L-E-Y, Master Nuggets. Parts 1 and 2. Part 2 is when he really gets ill. Part 1, he explains it with skill. Part 2, he's showing proof. But the effects of the new instruments and sounds upon the body and mind come out through the dance, of course. When they play the particular drum patterns that they play to work people into a frenzy for voodoo ritual. Shango, Vodun, Juju. Okay? So, the new instrumentation, the changing of the frequency, changing of the hertz, all of that, the increased decibels we listen to it at, it brought about violent convulsions. It looked like seizures. That makes it seem like somebody having a fit on the floor. So, the odd movements that you saw were inspired by those new sounds. Inspired. Then the word inspire, expire, then aspire. You find spire, the spirit. Inspired, the spirit that got in you. You don't want to hear about it. I get it. Love these guys. There's DJ Red Alert, Alpha Bambaataa, pioneering DJs, the DJs and community pimpers. They work together. The people who had the money to rent out halls and allow for this new expression to be seen and make money. Okay, so dollar sign. First people that they needed to help them to make money off of the quote-unquote cult was the DJs, the ones who would promote the philosophy by playing the music over and over again. DJs and community pimpers all saw the hypnotic and explosive effect that these new sounds had on the young, whose minds are not as well formed. And they started seeing dollar signs, naturally. The alert became a legend, almost par with Africa Bambaataa in classic hip-hop DJ circles. And here we see the imagery. Again, they're coming from outer space, just like the fallen ones, because they believe in the mothership deception, just like Parliament Funkadelic. And they came down to run teams and the tradition of the ancient idols of the first civilizations. So it is now most appropriate to realize that their gear, what they wore, Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force, like P-Funk's outrageous costumes, it was a nod to the fallen angels, to the demon spirits whom the secret orders teach them were their ancestors / gods. So they believe they're giving reverence to themselves by giving reverence to their ancestors, lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, pride of life, and they get lost in the sauce, and they go from being oppressed to possessed. The longer they deal with these spirits, the longer they deal with the brotherhood, the more the ways of the brotherhood become their ways. I hate to inform this about you. If you're a member, you ain't got up there yet. But you're going to be kicking it with some gays. It's a huge part of Lucifer's attack against mankind. Transhumanism goes against creation. Kill, steal, and destroy goes against creation. So that's always the goal. Okay? To inadvertently and slickly attempt to steal your soul or coerce you into giving it away by giving you something that you think you like, something that you think is related to you, something that your ego can be drawn to. And it's not true. Ancestors didn't look like creatures. Those that worshiped creatures were deceived. Many of our moves, as far as break dancing, came from the martial arts spirit as we entertained more spirits of war subconsciously. Look at the neighborhoods where hip hop was, advanced in, or where hip hop flourished. And what do you see? The evidence of the anger spirit, of the war spirit, the rebellious spirit. So as we entertain more spirits of war subconsciously through hip hop, our ancestral memory recalled styles like capoeira. Ancestral memory is memory found in salmon, elephants. They say you can not only pass on physical traits through DNA, you can also pass on memory, philosophy, psychology, behaviors. Okay? You know that? That goes far back. And so that's why you find sometimes the brothers and sisters in America inadvertently doing things that their ancestors did, that their brothers and sisters from their native land still do. That don't mean that it's right. You do. But it's still true. Okay? So let's read. So our ancestral memory recalled styles like capoeira. But breaking, broken, nothing missing, nothing left. But breaking was breaking into our temple, like a spirit. The dances constituted a manifestation of the twisted nature of the demons that had the dancer under control, but also of the twisted nature of the housing, work, education that many had begged for, been battered for, got arrested and fought dogs to try to get in an effort to become equal in order to attain the American dream. Yet it was also a manifestation of the nature of the music that they were listening to, which was now only sound. So what we're seeing in the ghetto today is the manifestation of this music, this good thing for culture. It has had 20 years to do what it's going to do. Other movements to do into what in 20 years this one has been unable to do. Now what we're seeing is the manifestation of the nature of the music, which is really only sound and lacks the substance and ingredients necessary to truly call it music. Similar to the way in which what you may think of as knowledge They really only be information that went over somebody's head, somebody caught it. Shedding it. Let's see what else. Gangster. Check out the movements again. You see the manifestations of Egyptian demons once they're let in. Again, if you have any familiarity with the Raisha or any of the conjuring books, any of the witchcraft books where they will show you bodily forms of demons, you find these odd, illogical, misshapen body forms and these robotic and mechanical movements. Because a demon is a robotic and mechanical thing designed not for thinking and strategizing. Who does the strategizing? They are the soldiers. And so we got the soldier spirit from the soldier demon through the break. Break. We know where it came from. Break from the break in the record, which is not called a break. Understand, you the street kids didn't understand a chorus from a refrain. Overstood. But again, when there's a devil within, he will help to manipulate your language, your dress. Look at that. A man thrown up to Manu Coronado as a boy gets on the cardboard and do his footwork with the ghetto blaster behind him. Okay, again, the dude in the blue shorts is not cognizant, I'm sure, of the power of that sign, but he saw it so many times done by powerful people with demons on their minds. And so it just fit. Like the automatic writing that spirits can give people, the automatic dancing, the automatic body posturing and positioning of hands causing mudra, magical hand signals. The danger in doing some of the moves in 1990. Sitting on your head, sitting on one hand. Possession, mind control, hypnotism. The prism-like effect of a disco ball helped to displace deceiving spirits of light and most importantly to confuse one's mind and throw off one's balance. Flashing lights and glamour, stardom, disorienting and disarming you, making conscious focus all but impossible. This is a form of mass hypnotism and indoctrination by way of the messages and the songs that are played in clubs, both exoteric and esoteric. Recall the incident in Asia where over 100,000 children reported having seizures while watching a Pokemon, the Pocket Demon TV special. Well, the disco, especially the early disco, was set up for just that experience, not unlike the casino. It's set up to help enhance mind control experience, to help to put your mind in a place of fantasy, really in a delusion. Some it's a strong delusion. They keep going back to the club like they have to. It becomes addictive. Here we see the Pope enjoying a young man doing the death-defying maneuvers we just talked about, probably hoping that he will break his neck while he's trying to perform this head spin, but also just taking great joy in watching the young man's body flail through the air, certainly with an old pedophile like this. Why would you be brought in front of the Pope? Great day. This thing was bigger than we thought it was because it was for the media, this was the proof positive that the Brotherhood wanted to see. We got them possessed. You couldn't tell it by rapping. You couldn't tell it as much by the DJing or the graffiti. But you could tell the spirit was there. The fifth element was there about the dance. And the Pope, being an old warlock witch, knew this himself. And so did all the other members in the Brotherhood who were instrumental in placing hip-hop on the pedestal that it was placed upon. And the first thing that got the pedestal was breakdance. For that reason, they wanted to see the manifestation of the demon. We're almost done. About 2 or 3 more minutes and I'm going to release you. I'm just going to go through these. I think they're self-explanatory now. At this point, we're seeing magic, witchcraft, sorcery, the ghetto blaster, new technological biological weapon was formed. The ghetto blast meaning to explode, blow away, or detonate. The ghetto, destroy. As well as a new form of noise pollution. And I was loving it. A new way to tick off the elders and frustrate parents was born, complete with a new language, a new dress, and a new attitude. Or apparently new, at least. And all it cost me was my eardrums. Huh? What? Did you hear that, Cole? You thought it was all fun and games like you usually do, laugh now, cry later. Egyptian love. Beat, breakdance, hip. Again, you wonder, why is this guy, the guy from the hood, as far as you know, talking about Egyptian lover, because he was turned on to it, no doubt, by his house, by his lodge. That was a big song too, if you recall. Huge hit song. The only one he had. I think he had two. Sound just alike. But he was trying to copy Egypt. Can I say that? Alright. We began to identify again with our ancestors' past mystique as the world media appeared mystified by what had risen from the ghetto. All appearances would suggest that there would be no revitalization of any remnant of civilization, deceived or chosen. Art can give one a false sense of power and pride. Pride creates a blind side. The magician's prestige. In search of power, the music and culture appeared ready to produce stars and idols for the new age, gods of hip-hop. They would need to display power in front of their subjects. A god has to display power. That's why you hear now the backstory, Jay-Z don't write his rhymes. Biggie don't write his rhymes. I've been writing rhymes for too many years to listen to somebody and know full well that they wrote it and then let you tell me that they did. But I understand what that's for. That is so that they can display a godlike power over you who have to sit down and write. See, but it's a lie. They got to sit down and write too. Someone got to sit down in peace. Break in. We would dance until a spirit was able to break in by way of an unguarded gateway. Then he would take over the body and allow the priest, the king, the host, the dancer to perform impossible feats with his body. Aleister Crowley said that the initiate should learn to talk back and walk back. Can anybody say moonwalk? What walk? Moonwalk. The moon is called the lunar, where you get the term lunatic from, and lunacy from. My grandma thought it was lunacy. How about yours? Let's continue. Hell's Kitchen. Here we see a famous spot in New York. Is it by coincidence that you find this picture and this pose? Picture's worth 1,000 words. Breaking from the original soundtrack. Look at the cover. Black and white chessboard all over. After the spirit is able to break in, then the DID effects, or the split personality effects, dissociative identity disorder, begin. Even DID as an anagram speaks of duality, the same forward and backward stuff. And the common loss of memory that keeps the victim or the host from being able to often recall what they did, DID. The new identity will begin to form as the core identity fractures and splinters like a shattered mirror, or the chess beginnings, as we use so often. The dark energy in the real person sharing unequal space like the black and white of the grand game. I must say unequal because there's always going to be a dominant and a recessive. There's always going to be a leader and a follower. You can't serve two masters. So when you have these spirits on you, like Sting said, you turn your face to alabaster. When you find the servant, the spirit that you thought was serving you is your master. Let's continue. Almost through here. Here you see a big club scene. Hip hop was brought to you in this environment, this outer space, mind control, brainwashing, Sodom and Gomorrah environment. full of technology from the fallen angels. This condition is made worse by the disco environment where hip hop was brought after being tested in the park. There was allegedly a CIA Project Cedric. Wick and witch are related etymologically. However, there is nothing directly about it in the COINTELPRO papers, but there are those of us who see evidence of it and would believe that it would have had to have been so. Some sort of project was done to develop or help push hip hop in a certain direction as it was developed.
And we aim to keep it good.
Disco ball, mind control personified, shaped like a planet or world, and the intricate beehive of New York masonry helped to package, produce, and project hip-hop to the masses. New York is a boss place. Lots of big boss brotherhood members there. They were needed to help put hip-hop on top. That's why there were so many early MC names that sounded Masonic. Between the Masons and the gang culture, the inspiration is obvious. G, Spoonie G, Grand Master, Grand Wizard, Master G, Master of Ceremonies, MC, Melly Mel's infamous invocation of Ra. Even the B-boy, telling you to be a boy, not a man, stance. That B-boy stance is taken from Noble Drew Ali's pseudo-Masonic adaptations, and it is a Mason's standing on a square stance, the B-boy stance. The MC should have knocked you out. I understand. Spirit is strong. Here we had the twins. I believe they was dancing for Beyonce at one time. Those twin dancers talked about the spiritual nature, or supernatural nature of how they danced together. And if you watch them, sometimes you can tell it is as if there's a telepathy going on between them. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, twins share a special bond, certainly. However, we are taught and shown and understand that telepathy is done in that situation, on that level. Telepathy period is of the devil, but it is demons that give you the ability to do these dances. It will also be the demons that will give you the ability to know what your partner's going to do before they, whether they're your twin or not. Damaging frequencies of today's mechanical music are designed to enchant and break down the natural vibration of the body and to disrupt the natural patterns of our brainwaves. Dance has always been a common way to induce a trance. Now add the effects of digitally altered noises, sounds being bombarded at you rhythmically on high frequency. Oh, and don't forget the strobe and or disco lights to help to confuse you or discomfort you. With all this coming together and sending negative vibrations through your body like a wave. And what do we do with the wave? We pass it on. So I think that with a minute left, perhaps we put this to bed. Anything else that really needs to be said, I think, is, what's going to happen now? Are you going to stop listening to Bambaataa's music? You still hear R. Kelly's music banging. So you're going to still hear the same thing without the Bambaataa. But what may happen is perhaps some of the brothers have been so bound to the spell of arrested development, the spell of hip-hop, can now come out of it. They can be healthy and in their right minds and not fixated on trying to make it in a business that has thrown them aside, really and truly. Okay? Now you have to turn what may have been ideally your goal for a job into a hobby hob. You can't be a jobby job. If you still love it, you'll do it for free, right? So with pop culture pushing on one end, street culture pushing on the other, many youngsters got caught in the middle, trapped in a vice of arrested development. A spirit called out in deliverance sessions by that very name. It was a group, speech, Grammy. That's the second time out, right? Unable to be men, some resigned to be boys forever. despite the lack of mercy or pity shown to elders in this genre of music. See, once you get past a certain age, you really should hang this up. If you're dealing in a reality, if you're not in a strong delusion, or if you're not in a situation where it is sustaining you as provision. I know one individual. I know a lot of people still hip hop. Like a mentally ill individual unable to change their behavior or see anything wrong with it. The spirit of pride and denial that caused the fall of mighty dynasties in the past resurfaced and took out many positive and intelligent, talented brothers who would have become great teachers or men of leadership in their communities had they not spent all day, every day, trying to come up with that hot 16 or the bread for the next studio session. Those are big trick men. Rogers with a breaker. Again, just like the Pope. Why did you see these wrinkled dudes all of a sudden act like, well, they were just trying to be hip and breaking was getting hip? No, it was also the fact that it was these little desired boys among the brotherhood members. They desired boys. And the most desirable boys, if you just do your tally, different strokes was saying something. No, don't move to the beat of this way. Mr. Rogers trying to contort, catch that spirit that passes on. When you do the water wave, you pass the spirit on from yourself to the next person, right? Pass the wave on. Oh man, you going too deep with this, man. Come on, man. We just having fun. So was I. Hey man, don't you be. I don't know him. I got no dog in the fight. Here we see again more symbolism that there is something deeper going on within among these brotherhood members, among people who we look toward, especially in childhood, as role models and leaders. And in spite of everything else you may want to say, a lot of people look toward Africa Bambaataa as a role model, as a clown. They always put on a false face. Jimmy Savile. Even Bill Cosby. They busted with the male persuasion, but they busted him in the same thing. Showing that they put up one face in front of you and another face behind closed doors as part of being in a secret order. You ask yourself, is Africa Bambaataa in the secret order I just named or not? Then you're going to ask a lot of questions for yourself. And in their gestures, you'll find obscene gestures, you'll find movements, but you'll also find them like Jimmy Page was doing to the crowd, mocking. The devil likes to mock you, to humiliate you, and to turn the innocence of children around. Unbeknownst to you, where something comes from, how it got there, and who taught it matters. We are not like children in this world any longer. To accept or reject something because it's black is not getting it. If all things can be traced back to the first civilizations, then do we accept all things? There's a trick bag right there. Surely, some answered yes. Now, if you ever notice, one of the adversary's common tactics is to paint something black and bet that that will be enough to attract folks to it, even if it's laden with things pagan. They did it with Obama. They've been doing it for a long time. They tell us something is black, and they bet that we'll accept it. Put heritage on a can of Lori Green and they believe you gonna buy. Something similar was done with Africa Bambaataa, Dr. York, and the people, and certainly with Obama. But let's tie all of this in now. They're all big boss brotherhood guys whose job is to control particular culture and community against their knowledge, or without their knowledge, against their will, but without their knowledge. The takeover of man begins by renewing his mind by way of brainwashing, removing from it any real autonomy and freedom of choice, freedom of speech, or religion. All have been chipped away at gradually, mostly in the name of peace and security, which Obeezy loves to say, by the way. After chipping away at our rights and wills, the other types of chipping will follow. If we allow ourselves to lose our love, humanity, warmth, respect, and natural connection to the Creator, and if we become slaves, machines, and the next robots. Interesting that the robot dance was a staple of pop and lock, and later of breakdancing. It was popularized by many artists, but most notably Michael Jackson, a victim of MK Ultra, high-level mind control. It's a cool-looking dance, but if you think about the esoteric meanings and subconscious implications, I'd rather not dance like a robot when I dance. That's a little stiffish. Mike making it popular on Soul Train. This robot doesn't call this doing the windmill, he calls it doing the man. And of course there's Mike going up the 360. Abused, programmed, and traumatized from childhood, MJ shows the 3-6 sign as someone taught it to him. Just like how gang leaders learn deeply occult symbols and incorporate them into their gang signs because they've been shown its hypnotic magical power and significance. Michael Jackson's trauma undoubtedly helped him access the trance state that is most conducive to high energy, body contorting, supernaturally empowered, demonic empowered dancing. So this was another young boy who allowed for mentors like Berry Gordy and later Quincy Jones to bring him into the brotherhood, and they abused him as well. Later in life, he himself, as a former victim of abuse, all eyes can see, was also accused of abuse. And that's not uncommon, that a former abuse victim can sometimes be made to abuse others. Satanic ritual abuse counts on this fact. MK Ultra counts on this fact. They count on it. That's one reason why they do that to the children. Then they raise them up in the business so that those children, once they're adults, will continue on that same cycle and pick them some children and do it to them and pass on this generational curse. And it's common in the music business to use these tactics, these curses, these hand signs, this magic. And it's all used to hypnotize you and turn you into a robotic slave, to be able to serve mind-controlled slaves. Slaves are servants. The robotic ways we are made to act, think, and speak are given to us by way of the music, so that we are too busy getting our groove on to realize that we are becoming mental and spiritual slaves, or robots. And once the mental and spiritual is captured, the physical always follows. Cloned robotic hosts. Most of your entertainers are. A virtual army of open vessels for the spirits that are aimed at us. That's what we are. By those who know and believe in their existence, in the existence of those spirits. And they use your ignorance of those spirits against you. Our people do indeed perish for lack of spiritual knowledge. And it's turning us into robots. Zombies. Hosts. Ready to receive the lightning bolt. The devil to take you to another level. Look at how robotic everybody is nowadays. Now let's look at this. You see the Death Star. This is the mothership. The mothership deception can be found not just in black secret societies. You find it going back to Eric von Daniken's books and Zecharia Sitchin's books more recently, such as Genesis Revisited. This is Genesis Revisited indeed, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the last days. The planet-sized, planet-shaped ship that the Anunnaki ascended from is exemplified in the Death Star of Star Wars, which is analogous to the sun, a star. And the Death Star, that particular star, is life-giving and can cause death, can it not? But let's continue. But it's called the Death Star in the movie, analogous to both the sun and to Lucifer, who is described as a star, and the friend of death. It was called Nibiru, and the internet has been all abuzz for over a decade about its supposed arrival or return. Remember, it's May 5th, 2005, PTA, they said it was going to come back then. Anyone? This fever is a part of the ramp-up and promotion of the Project Blue Beam agenda, which is also called the Mothership Deception around here. NASA reportedly captured a moon on film, Iapetus, that looked like the iconic battleship Iapetus, I-A-P-E-T-U-S. Continue. So yes, Elijah Muhammad has a book called The Mother Plane. He too believes in the mothership. Understand that many secret societies with ties to the black consciousness community have a secret belief to go along with this secret agenda. There is a belief in a mothership among Nuwaubians, among Israelite groups, among NOI members, among Masons. It is described the way Nibiru is today. Elijah Muhammad's book, The Mother Plane, speaks it, by the way. Another depiction of Nibiru with its wings. Also the sun disc or sundials, sun discs, sun circles that you will see sometimes depicted in Horus insignias. You'll see those wings on the side. And supposedly, those wings are modeled after how the ship actually is supposed to look when it approaches or comes into the atmosphere. We'll know, perhaps, someday. But I tend to think it's all contrived. There is no real Nibiru. It's all made up so they can do what they want to do with that Project Blue. In the end, that's what I believe. That whole story is set there, going back thousands of years, millennia, just to prepare us for the alien deception. We're told that the Sumerian tale of the Anunnaki tell of this ship smashing into Earth. This is fuel for fear-mongers, conspiracy theorists, and disaster movies. The allegory is more important to learn from, if anything. Fear is not of the Messiah. So think of it as an allegorical piece. The Dark Vader, the Dark Invader, the Darth Vader, the Death Star, the Mother Ship. See the connections? Who did the voice of Darth Vader? So you see, there's something being said here. Even I was interested in seeing John Boyega in the Star Wars Force Awakens because I wanted to see what they were trying to say about the black man. George Lucas does not miss a chance to talk about certain ethnic groups and spirits that have them bound, even caricature them in the film. And whenever you see certain ethnicities, whenever you see a black man put in a particular position, they live to Empire Strikes Back. It's trying to say something about the nature of the man to those who may not be acquainted with it, and also it's trying to say something esoteric about the nature of the man. John Boyega, before he got his coveted role in Star Wars, really a breakout role for him, relatively unknown, was only in one other movie of note, and that was Attack the Block. And that was B movie personified. So much so, and I like the B movies. It was so B that I couldn't even get into it. But what I wanted to see was, what does he symbolize? In Hollywood, everybody symbolizes something. And iconic films like Star Wars are laden with Masonic symbology. Not the least of which, the mothership. Okay. So that's where in pop culture you find this planet-sized, planet-shaped ship, other than Nibiru, only from the Death Star. Nibiru represents the home of demons landing, festering in man, and being made manifest in the earth realm, symbolically bringing their dwelling, their home, to ours. We pray Psalm 91 over all of our dwellings. Earth to collide with planet Nibiru. You hear a lot on the internet about Nibiru coming, mothership coming. It all relates back to Africa, Bambaataa, Dr. York, and people like York and George and Andre 3000 and Badu and Farrakhan. Bambaataa has also known about the mothership deception for a long time. It's unclear to me whether they become so delusional that they actually believe in this ship coming forth to carry them home, or if it's all just a ruse for the uninitiated or lower degrees. Now, the similarity in the choice of wild costumes makes sense if we can dig what part of the esoteric mysteries relating to black folk is represented by the idea that each costume represents. You see the Native American symbolism, different cultures. Sometimes you'll see Arabic representation. It's all going back to Dr. York's claim that, it all starts from black and it's all good. And so let's take it back. Then you have the Johnson crew perpetrating. Of course, there were groups out who were told to copy a look they likely didn't overstand in order to get noticed and remembered, or so the A&R guy said. So they called themselves trying to do that look, but not overstanding what was behind it, and they end up looking like some Fruit Boys. That was a sweet song. And again, their dressing garb is like some Three Musketeers with the Victorian French era there, or the Victorian era there, or the French Renaissance era wig, right? But Bambaataa and crew had a definite theme. They were dressing the part and trying to see if the clothes really do make the man. You see, they were looking the part in order to access the spirit. It was in fact deeper than simply identifying with their culture, as Arabic, as Hebrew, as Native American, as Egyptian, and others. How do you see it? I know you see it. What else can you see? Where that style of dress really comes from. During this portion in the Blackness video, I played excerpts from Mothership Connection, which has some very telling lyrics in the intro where it says, we are the recording angels, returned to reclaim the pyramids. So again, George and them was under the same deception, the exact same deception, thinking that all that stuff was good and nothing to question because it was sold to them as our heritage. And George and them also ended up getting twisted with it because you had the symbolism of the Illuminati tied in with their own. What is the P-Funk symbol? Why the skull? The Funkadelic. Doing it to your skull, doing it to your ear hole. Africa Bambaataa was giving an updated technological translation of the mothership deception ideals brought to you by Masonic lies by way of P-Funk, and his group paid tribute to that fact. No one in pop culture has ever embodied the Sumerian religious concept, which is a brotherhood concept, Egyptian mystery system, and the Anunnaki tale, artistically as well as George. Nobody has made as good an attempt at telling that story in an artistic way, save George Lucas and George Clinton. Well, except the other George. Okay, talking about George Clinton and didn't realize I had included George Lucas even in this writing. This is something I wrote 2 years ago. Both have an obvious flair for the outrageous, yet are telling the same story with two different interpretations and with two different prejudices. Yes, I know Lucas has a black wife. That still doesn't change the fact that, he's on that chessboard too, a pawn in the game, being moved about by his brotherhood. Let's continue. And an interesting story was also brought to my attention. Sister B brought this to my attention. The young actor that played Anakin Skywalker in the Jar Jar Binks episode, Attack of the Clones, the one with the races, with the pod races, young Anakin, he's in a lot of trouble and going through what appears to be the throes of mind control. He's a young man. They are reading a little excerpt of that story, but that's just to show you that when you deal with this outer space mothership deception ideology for long enough, you're going to lose it. Evidenced by George Clinton, evidenced by Africa Bambaataa, evidenced by Dr. Wu. And tie it up right here, the Mothership Connection cover. If you ever seen it, it's George and them coming on the spaceship. Some allusion to sex magic. One leg up. Okay. It's in the old booty shaking song. Why is he doing the one leg up? So, they all have to go through the same ritual. You see, the word parliament is made of like lightning type of letters. Notice that? Parliament in and of itself is a government body. Okay, in England, what they call their Senate or their governing body, they call it Parliament. It's a governing body. It's a government thing. And then Funkadelic, what does that mean? That's a play off the word psychedelic. Psychedelic, like psychotropic, means things that alter the mind. So this is funk that alters the mind. Funkadelic is why you have the skull dotting the eye. Then you have the misty smoke around the lightning bolt that form the word parliament. And Lucifer fell like lightning from heaven. And in the midst, you have the P-Funk sign, which is the Manu Coronado, or the Devil's Horn sign. Now you see where they get it from. This is a very telling album cover as well, and then we out of here. More of the Sumerian tale with the New Age noir twist. Dig it. The clone on the table has a shindig type of Masonic apron diaper deal on it, perhaps. But the bra and beard is telling. A hybrid, like a Baphomet, devoid of a true gender, like Will Smith said. Remember, they want to deny gender. They don't want to have a nationality. They want to be universal beings. Note the language of Africa Bambaataa. Now, Dr. Funkenstein, standing in the foreground of the picture, is creating this new being that is neither identifiably male or female and questionably human. They appear to be in a lab aboard the mothership, showing you that this is the fallen angel's intention for man, to turn him into something other than what the Creator created him to be. And this is all alluding to the false creation story that claims man was made by the Anunnaki aboard the ship, and they were made to be clones or robots, slaves, watched over by Enki and Enlil. per the Sumerian creation story, which is revered by brotherhood members, such as your boy, looking for the perfect butt.
What's the world coming to?
KRS-One. Original rap. Some people believe that hip-hop and rap music are the same. They are not. Rap is something we do. Hip-hop is something we live. And the living of hip-hop encourages our community to seek peace, love, unity, and safely having fun. These principles are the cornerstones of our international hip-hop culture. I am honored tonight to pay tribute to the godfather of hip-hop, Afrika Bambaataa. Afrika Bambaataa speaks to the streets because he came from the streets. Down with the black spades of the Bronx, he rose from sickness, hatred, ignorance, and poverty to become hip-hop's leading voice for health, love, awareness, and wealth. Afrika Bambaataa's work to preserve and unify hip-hop has influenced my work with the Stop the Violence movement, as well as the Temple of Hip-Hop. Our work to preserve and decriminalize hip-hop's public image continues. He is the keeper of peace and culture. I say, I am hip-hop. This man is hip-hop culture. This is the story of Afrika Bambaataa.
It ain't no easy way to say what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Shit should have been done a long time ago. That motherfuckers got on a bus to protest justice or else. All y'all motherfuckers. Justice or else. Question. How y'all get on a bus and go out of town to fight for justice for your people, but at the same time, y'all sitting around protecting a pedophile? All y'all niggas know. Ahmed, you said you let the apartment go in Bronx River because you got tired of all that shit that was going on in that room. You knew. Question is, I was a little boy at the time. Why the fuck you ain't never knock on that door and pull me out of that room with that grown-ass man? Why y'all let so many years go by of this man running around, and even still, a couple of years ago, you got stabbed because he want to be sucking a man's dick. You date raping motherfuckers and sucking their dick in their fucking sleep. And that's why you got stabbed, and that's why he got stabbed. And everybody running up to the hospital, oh, Bam got touched. Yeah, he got touched. He should have been touched a long time ago. I don't even understand how I ain't touched you. Big brother, big homie. I don't understand how I ain't air you out. But I guess that's why I've been to jail so many times for so many homicides. You fucked my brain up. Really did. Even though I ain't never killed nobody, I just been in jail the whole life. I get my drift. You fucked me up as a little boy. So much to the point to where that when I get head, wifey be like, you been fucking all them bitches, man. You can't even get hard for me. Nah, I'm just having flashbacks of a grown-ass man sucking on my fucking dick. At 12 years old. Playing with a bunch of little fucking boys. You ain't just touch on one little boy, nigga. You touched on 1,000. Hey, Paul Pacheco. What if I sat up here and I told you that Bam was fucking your little brother? I saw it. Taufik, let's stop playing games. Bam was playing with your little brother too. We can keep on going on. Keep on. You come out of the closet. You was a little boy too. Bam was sucking on everybody's little pee-pee. You fucking child molester. You a faggot. You're nasty. You the reason why I hate gay people. I should have been exposed your ass a long time ago. But it's kind of hard to tell somebody that a grown man touched you and you ain't a faggot. It's kind of hard to even look a motherfucker in the face. It's hard for me to make this video. Bottom line to it is, y'all protect him. Amber, Ahmed, Tafik, all y'all niggas protect that nigga. Y'all know what the fuck he is. Y'all know what he is. You invite people to Zulu Nation, you know what they say? We ain't fucking with them boy lovers. And it's sad because you got a lot of great soldiers, a lot of motherfuckers that lost their life behind the Zulu Nation. Lost their life. Y'all said ain't no room for homosexuality in hip-hop? How the fuck do you say that? The founder, the creator of hip-hop, Africa Bambaataa, Lance. Not only is he a faggot, but he fucked little boys. Yeah. And keep in mind, this is coming from one of the realest niggas in the streets. Y'all know me. And let me make something clear to y'all. Any one of y'all bitch ass niggas that know me, that make a video, that stand up and go against what I'm saying, and y'all know it's true, it's on site. Point blank period. I'm not biting my tongue. I'm airing everybody out. You cover up for that nigga, it's on. The worst motherfucker in the world is a pedophile. The worst motherfucker in the world is a pedophile. Y'all covered up for that nigga. Y'all knew what he was doing. I mean, how many boys you seen go up in that motherfucking room?
Now, I was born on May 16th, 1973 to do this with trueness. I graduated from Mumford High School 1991. These songs that I have to look at are the songs that define my youth, parts of my character, aspects of my personality. And I have to, at some point in time, like we all should, put away the things that we did as children, begin to redefine some of the things that we started giving definitions before we even knew what they was. Hello, you started to give hip-hop its definitions before you were able with mature eyes to look at it and define for yourself what it really was. You couldn't look at it and see it for what it was because you were accepting the definitions that were being given to you, pushed upon you, really, by those who stood to gain by hip-hop's reign. It's marketing, selling, and promotion. Now, it hurts a lot of people's pockets when certain things come out about hip-hop, but not to the degree that it should. You won't stop doing anything. You know, perhaps you shouldn't. Do we need Africa Bambaataa to define how a music and a culture should represent a community or a neighborhood? Do we need Africa Bambaataa to help us sort through our history, to help us look at the things that are mysteries and see which ones are relevant today and which ones just help to lead us further astray? But we don't need him. We need the true and living God, the Father, the Most High Creator, who is the creator of all things created. And we have seen aspects in hip-hop that evidence that it has creativity. Therefore, its origins must come from the Creator. And again, we're calling it hip-hop. We don't know what else to call it. That's some spirit. So this genre, this culture that rose from out of the poor black youths, who many are coming to a realization or belief at least that, hey, oh, perhaps this is what happened to the Jews. Okay, this hood that creates so many amazing things with little to no resources, except for the people that's there and their ideas, their determination. So, you know, we know that the Almighty is behind what the poor think they're doing, ultimately. Okay? At the end of the day, it is the Creator who has to create. But it is man, and it is the devil who will imitate and take and twist things and redefine things and turn something that should be beautiful, like sex, into something profitable and wicked, beast-like, like pornography. Do you see? So there is sex. There should be beautiful union between husband and wife. But then there is pornography. I maintain we're looking at pornography when we see hip hop. The pornography of a music, of an urban music. A music of the warriors. A music of the men of valor. Huh? It would have been there. King David played the harp. I played the ASR 10. Brother Charles played a mic. And I ain't gonna tell you what's played by Dwight. But, you know, sometimes you gotta take it light. Sometimes you gotta laugh to keep from crying. I understand how hard it is. For some folks, it's like, you know, what do I tell all my friends? I've been pushing for this for so long, and then you're taught in all of the books and publications, Source Magazine, Vibe Magazine, all the rest. Or you just keep trying. You know, you go to the seminars, New Music Seminar, Jack the Rapper. You're told, you know, you just keep trying. You know, you have to believe in yourself. Don't you never stop. And all this does is create this driven demon, this ambition demon. And then comes a delusional demon to go along with it. So that even when you see all the signs and symbols that you should give it up, even when Ford calls you, yeah, even when you know your Uncle Larry put in a good call for you, you gone. You at the studio that day. It's not that important to you because that's not really what I want to do with my life. How do you know? Let me tell you something that's real talk. You don't begin to really hear clearly from God until you up in your 30s. Because, well, you know, everybody's different. Okay, everybody's different. But let me tell you, in general, why you'll find that. Because in general, your ego is stronger in your 20s. When you're younger and stronger, your ego is too. That's the fleshly part of you. As that fleshly part of you begins to show that it ain't so tough, then you start to understand some more mature stuff. And you're no longer blinded. You know, yes, we're always seeing through a glass dimly, but you're no longer blinded by your desires and your passions as much as you get older. Those things help to skew the way you view whatever you're into, you know, because you're into it at that age. You see it a whole another way. You believe you can get in there. As you get older, you should begin to see things differently and say, well, wow, look at the effect this music has had on my community. Look at the effect it's had on me. Look at me, a big baby man. Big B-boy. It's not cute. It ain't cute. When do you move into another phase in maturity in dress and in speech? You know, again, I'm not trying to preach per se. Just perhaps if you can receive it, maybe teach and show and prove. Okay, yes, okay. The Most High gave you the skill to write. The Most High gave you the skill to do art. The Most High gave you the skill to DJ or to produce beats, which was born from DJing. The Most High gave you the skill to dance and have excessive rhythm. Now, how do you give it back to the Most High? For real. Don't play no games with him because you can't play none with me, so you know you ain't got nothing common with him. The Most High gave you those gifts and talents, and all you know how to do is make yourself a couple dollars with them. While dirtying up and destroying the mindset of your community. If you're promoting what hip-hop is today, you are. So what would it have been? What is the loving marital sex to the hip-hop pornography that we see today? What is it supposed to be? Well, you have not because you ask not. And nothing is hidden except that it shall be revealed. And we are coming upon that time because there are God-given abilities to dance, and to rhyme. Proof is in the pudding. Check out mine. But also what you're going to find is the Most High gave you talents for reasons differently than what the world told you. And what the world told you, you began to tell yourself. Whether the world told you verbally through saying, hey man, you're good at that, or the world told you through showing the example. And you look and you say, wow, I'm good at that too. Okay, if it's basketball, you know whether you've really got a window and whether there are true opportunities for you to make it big. But making it big is a young man's dream. I'm just trying to tell you that. That's one reason why the music business wants them young. The music business will even push back people's ages. I know an R&B singer right now. Look at his bio, he's got the wrong age on it. I know the guy. From the city, that's it. Don't matter who it is. The point is, this is what they do because they want the youth. Just like the Brotherhood do too. One of the Masonic cats that I had told y'all about that I knew when I was in high school and you know, used to come down to the meetings and then got the wrong inspiration about it. Well, he resurfaced. And my cousin happened to be where he was at. Where he, you know, one of our high school, one of our mutual high school buddies still stayed in the neighborhood house. And my cousin happened to be there. So my cousin gave me this report of how old boy showed up. You know, driving nice, looking nice. And out of everybody who was there, you know, they're supposed to just be there kicking it. But out of everybody who was there, the Mason cat focuses on the youngest guy there. Basically giving him the recruiting spiel. Conversation went there. My cousin knew all about this. So see, my cousin kind of played his role and helped move the conversation in a certain direction. So he can come back with this report. So yeah, you know, they seek out the young. They want little boys. They want the youngest one, the dumbest one that's full of nothing but ego and pride. Ready to make a name for themselves, of course. Feeling extra strong and powerful, juiced up, turned up inside. And that is what the devil knows he can use against you. Because as long as that's driving you, pushing you forward, then the devil believes he can be steering you. So you want to be pushed forward by your desire to do the will of the Father. You're pushed forward by your desire to be propped up. Somebody to pat you on your back, tell you sweet. Grow up. And blow up. Before the Lord show up.